Good afternoon, everyone. Change has arrived, and I want to welcome you to our town hall where we're going to be discussing geography at our new Faculty of Environmental and Urban Change. I wanted to invite all the panelists to turn on their videos so you know who is joining me today. My name is Allison Bain, she, her, and I am the Dean of the Faculty of the Environmental and Urban Change. And we want to begin with a land acknowledgement, recognizing that York University is situated on the traditional territories of many Indigenous nations. The area known as Tkaronto has been caretaken by the Anishinaabe Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat. It's now home to many First Nations, Inuit, and Métis communities. I would like to acknowledge the current treaty holders, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. And this area is subject to the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, which is an agreement to peaceably share and care for the Great Lakes region. Knowing that we are not all situated in the same place, I encourage you to take this opportunity and the responsibility to acknowledge the land upon which you are currently situated. So today we are celebrating Earth Day, and it is fitting that we celebrate Earth Day with a focus on geography, a discipline that is literally of the earth. As a geographer myself, I'm incredibly passionate about this discipline, and it is indeed my disciplinary home. I've done all of my degrees in geography. I've had 3 high school courses in geography. I was one of the lucky ones that had a physical geography course, a human geography course, and a regional geography course to inspire me. And in fact, when I went in to do my geography undergraduate degree, I just really never looked back. For me, and one of the reasons I'm so proud of this Faculty of Environmental and Urban Change is that we are seeing geography as foundational to this particular endeavor. And that is my main message to you in terms of our vision of geography in the new Faculty of Environmental and Urban Change. Geography is foundational, and it's fully embedded in what we're doing as a faculty. And it also really kind of brings back for me all the reasons I love this discipline. We are committed to interdisciplinarity, and in many respects, geography is the interdisciplinary or transdisciplinary discipline. We are absolutely committed to experiential learning, experiential education. A well-known geographer, Carl Sauer, talks about geographers learning through the soles of their feet. I would expand that to all the ways that we explore the world. And we're committed to experiential education in the faculty. Geography has a global reach. We're interested in spaces and places that are close to home and those around the world. We're also very community engaged and action oriented because we're interested in not just understanding and explaining the world, but making it a better place. So all these cross-cutting issues that you should be getting familiar with now with our new Faculty of Environmental and Urban Change are ultimately very close to the heart of the discipline of geography. What we have in our new undergraduate curriculum is 5 programs that in many respects touch on all aspects of geography. So the most obvious program, of course, is global geography, which we have focused really around these ideas of space and place, the idea of regions, and a global reach, the ways in which places around the world are connected to one another. Another program that will be very close to geography's heart is that of a BSc in environmental science, which we're sharing as a collaborative program with the Faculty of Science. This is where, if you're interested in physical geography and biogeography, you could go into this degree and learn about the biophysical processes upon which we as a human species depend. We also have other undergraduate programs, including our soon-to-be established Cities Regions Planning, which is going in for approval today at Senate, which is something that really draws in urban geography. We have sustainable environmental management, and for many of those of you out there who are interested in human environment geography, this has a lot of foundational elements of the knowledge and skills you need to understand human environment relationships. And we also have environmental arts and justice. And for those of you interested in environmental justice, very specifically, we have a number of courses around things like political ecology, where we're interested in the politics and the different relationships between humans and the environment and how we're managing the world around us. Of course, York is known for having a very strong geographical scholarship and research areas, and we'll be talking about that a little bit today. So, main message for you out there is that geography is foundational to this new Faculty of Environmental and Urban Change. I want to welcome everyone that's here, and I was really excited to see that we have faculty, staff, and students that are currently here. We have a wide number of alumni joining us today and community partners. So thank you so much for being here. I'm going to now turn it over to my colleague, Philip Kelly, to share a few words about geography at York over time and space. Philip.
Many thanks, Alice, and good afternoon, everybody out there. My name is Philip Kelly. I am the Associate Dean for Research, Graduate and Global Affairs in the new Faculty of Environmental and Urban Change. I was previously the chair of the Department of Geography in the 1920 academic year. And I'm actually standing in right now for Joseph Menzer, who was my predecessor as chair. Joseph is busy right now chairing a search committee meeting to appoint a position in Black geographies and environments, which is one of the first new hires in the new faculty. So I said that I'm Associate Dean for Research, Graduate and Global Affairs. In some ways, I've also been Associate Dean for an extra G, and that is for Geographical Affairs, as we this year, as we go through the process of merging our units on the campus from Environmental Studies and from the department to create this new entity. And what I wanted to do briefly was to reflect on some of the change and the evolution that's happened in geography over the years. Geography is actually next year celebrating its 60th year at York. So geography as a learning and research field at York is nearly as old as the university itself. We have, I noticed John Walkington's name on the list of attendees. Welcome, John. John is one of our founders and a former chair of the department. I think I noticed Brian Massam as well. Brian's another former chair of the department, and there may be folks who I don't know were chairs. I'm not sure if Ted Spence was at some point as well. So welcome to many of our emeritus faculty as well. So geography was established 60 years ago. The graduate program was added a few years later. I think Frank Tuff, who's also on the list of attendees, was one of our first PhD graduates and received our Distinguished Alumni Award a couple of years back. So welcome, Frank, too. So the geography program was added, but when I arrived at York 21 years ago, there were actually two geography departments. There was also one in Atkinson, which was the continuing ed faculty. That merged in 2009 when the Faculty of Arts became the Faculty of Liberal Arts and Professional Studies. So we went from two departments to one, and that's when Joseph Menzer joined us, for example, and Peter van der Geest as well. So this is really to make the point that geography has continued to evolve at York from its initial founding as a department. We've always in the department had cross appointments. We've had several cross appointments to environmental studies over the years and to the Faculty of Science. So those kinds of campus connections have always been part of the picture for geography at York. And of course, our graduate program, which Tricia will talk about later, is an administrative entity that was always separate from the department, but very closely linked to it. And which has represented the much larger community of geographers at York. So really the creation of EUC is a further evolution of geography as a field for learning and research at York that continues a tradition of 60 years already. So with that, I will pass on so that you can hear in more detail about some of the new programs we have in the new faculty. And I'm going to pass first of all to Allison, my colleague, Allison Bain.
Thank you, Philip. Welcome to this Geography Virtual Town Hall. We're delighted to have you here. My name is Professor Allison Bain, and I'm the coordinator of the Global Geography BA program, which begins this fall in the upcoming 2021-2022 academic year. So Global Geography, as both Alice and Phil have highlighted, extends 59 years of teaching geography at York University. Geography was one of the foundational disciplines of the university, and it remains, as Alice has highlighted, foundational to the new Faculty of Environmental and Urban Change. In this new iteration of geography, we've accentuated its global orientation. We've streamlined course offerings to address pressing contemporary concerns of climate change, natural resource conservation, food security, poverty and inequality, human migration and displacement, labor precarity, digital divides, and urban development, all from different regional sites of knowledge production. Through a global lens, the new geography program remains focused on the causes, consequences, and implications of human and natural processes on urban and regional development, the state of our being and that of our environment. Through experiential education opportunities inside and outside of our virtual and our material classrooms and labs, we continue to teach critical geographical skills about how to collect and analyze, represent, and use geographic information to make reasoned decisions that inform action and sometimes public policy as well. Geography is all about thinking systematically and spatially about environmental and societal issues. We have even greater geographical course instructor expertise to draw upon in EUC, with an expanded complement of faculty who identify as geographers and who lead cutting-edge research projects all around the world. There are also valuable synergies with the new Cities, Regions, and Planning program in EUC, where many urban geography courses are cross-listed and geographers teach. This is a really exciting time to be at the forefront of environmental, urban, and social change in this new program, in this new faculty, and in this moment of reset as we emerge from a global pandemic and collectively grapple with the vulnerabilities it's laid bare. So it's my hope that you're as excited, although perhaps also somewhat daunted, by the possibilities that lay ahead of us and are as committed as I am and my colleagues here are to making this new faculty and this global geography program as a success as we hope it's going to be. So it's my great pleasure now to introduce you to my friend and physical geography colleague, Dr. Tali Drezner. So over to you, Tali.
Thank you, Allison. That was great. And thank you and welcome to everyone who's here. I'm glad to see pretty good turnouts for these virtual events. That's excellent. So for those who don't know me, I'm Dr. Tali Drezner. I am a biogeographer and a physical geographer, and I do all sorts of work in plants and climate interactions and all sorts of extreme environments. And I'm going to talk a little bit about our physical geography and really the environmental science program. So as one of the physical geographers in the department, we have always, environmental and urban change, we have always prioritized the importance of basic science and understanding basic science. And once you get the basic physical geography courses, you can build from there up to really using that and applying it for our most pressing and urgent social issues, some of which that Allison has herself mentioned. So, of course, global climate change and warming and all of the implications of that, endangered species and conservation. And all of these things are hugely important, and they're fundamentally geographical. Because why? If the climate is changing, where is it changing? And if it's affecting an endangered species, how is it doing that? Because there are only certain conditions in which it can live. So our program is first and foremost about the basic science, because we can't build from that without the basic science. And we still teach our nice, large, wide breadth of classes on physical geography. And now with this new faculty, we've been able to really take that and expand on that to now create and more formally have these applied courses really looking at environmental science. We've had an environmental science program prior to the building of this new faculty, but now it's much more showcased and much better developed than it was before. So we've made changes to the environmental science program, and I think we have a really great setup to have basic science, basic physical geography, and then above that building up our environmental science program. So with that, I think I'm out of time. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Patricia Wood.
Thanks very much, Tali. My name is Professor Patricia Wood, and I am the director of the graduate program in geography, now in the new faculty. I just want to say a few words about the role that this plays within the new faculty and some of what's going on. As you've heard, we now have a range of undergraduate degree programs that include geography and environmental science, but also geography contributes to the other ones, and there is no longer an undergraduate department as an individual separate unit. There is still a separate graduate program in geography that works hand in hand with the other graduate program in EUC, which is in environmental studies. And one of the roles that the graduate program now plays is to kind of be the heart of the geography research community within the new faculty. It is a community of over 110 faculty and graduate students with a wide range of research interests that I'll speak to in a moment. But we see it very much as a community of researchers and scholars who are actively in conversation with each other and keeping ourselves connected to the wider geography academic community that's represented in professional associations and journals and so on. But as much as it is a coherent community, it is one with very porous borders. That speaks particularly to our relationship with our colleagues in environmental studies. There is a lot of topical overlap in terms of our research interests, but there is also a shared commitment to the purpose of our research. Both colleagues in both programs share a commitment to doing research that really builds a better world. And so there are a lot of us who already do research with each other, and we hope that by now being in the same faculty that we can increase those opportunities for collaboration and exchange for both faculty and students. One of the other things that's core to the geography research community through the grad program is keeping all geographers in conversation with each other. So both those who do physical geography and human geography, and a number of folks who really have one foot in each camp, that this is all geography, and that we are, as much as we have independent research interests at times, we are a singular community that comes together regularly to share our research interests, both in academic settings, in curricular settings, and also in social settings. And that continues. The one perhaps significant difference between the graduate programs is that currently the graduate program in geography has a stronger science presence. But we don't see that as an exclusive thing. We see that as within the new faculty as hopefully another opportunity to support the scientists who are in the environmental studies program and to support the presence of science research interests within that program as well. The research community, it's kind of echoing some of the comments already that you've heard about from Allison and Tali in particular, but the research interests within this community, within the grad program, are very wide-ranging. They range obviously from critical studies of climate change to better understand it from every single angle, from the hard physical science of it to the policy to the effects on communities to the global impact on migration, for example. We have a lot of expertise in critical human geography, not only in response to climate change, obviously, but also in particular around cities, around political ecologies, around the relationship between identity and place. And we do this research and have done this research in every continent in the world, on land, on water, in remote communities, rural areas, in cities, in doing work actually in the communities, in government spaces, and in the archives. It's very wide-ranging and diverse. And so it's really tackling all these critical questions that geography is so well suited to tackling, but from every angle. And then, as I said, through the community, bringing everyone into conversation with each other. So we see it as playing a really important and supportive role for the goals of the faculty as a whole. To still, hopefully for those of you who are alumni, to feel like you still have, a geography community, but one that is now, as Phil was saying, has evolved to be in conversation and in new relationships with even more colleagues. So I will leave it there and turn it back over to my friend and colleague, Phil Kelly.
Thanks, Tricia. Hello again, everyone. And what I'm going to talk about is really an elaboration of the points that Tricia was just making about geography as a research community at York. I'm going to do that with the help of some beautiful slides put together by our alumni officer and geography summa cum laude graduate from York, Jen Ferdinands, which you should be able to see on your screen now. What you will see as these slides roll by are the members of the geography research community, but only narrowly defined as those with a PhD in geography or those who are appointed to the graduate program in geography. This isn't, of course, the whole community. There's many graduate students and postdocs, retirees, and others who are also part of our geographical research community. But these profiles do give you a sense of how significant this community is in terms of the larger world of geography and how wide-ranging we are, as Tricia pointed out, in terms of the topics that we cover. And this is evident in some numbers. By faculty member numbers, our graduate program is actually the second largest in Canada. That's after you-know-who must not be named, and the fifth largest in North America. I don't actually count Wilfrid Laurier Waterloo because they have a joint graduate program, and I consider that to be cheating. We also have the fifth largest population of geography PhD students in Canada. So we are really a nationally and internationally important center for geographical research. But we've always been dispersed in the past in different units across campus, particularly environmental studies and the Department of Geography, but also social science and elsewhere. So from a research perspective, the creation of EUC has done two things. It has, first of all, brought together our internationally significant community of geographers into a single academic unit. It's also expanded the types of geographical research and teaching that we do beyond what existed in the old department. And the second thing it's done is to bring geographers into a community, as Tricia was suggesting, with like-minded scholars from a wide range of disciplinary backgrounds with similar interests in environmental, urban, and geographical research. And this is a point that I'll highlight in a moment, that EUC has brought together many other scholars who are not on the slides that are sliding by right now, but who are doing work on climate change mitigation, environmental planning, indigenous environmental knowledge, for example, that were largely missing from our geographical community before. And this really is a community of research excellence. Last year, there were over 70 active research projects in EUC, bringing in millions of dollars of grant funding. And just in the last few months, we've had a phenomenal rate of success in SSHRC and NSERC funding competitions. So in this expanding community of geographical research, what are we working on? And I want to further elaborate and unpack some of the themes that Tricia mentioned. First of all, through field research, laboratory analysis, we're studying water, soils, plants, climates, as well as applying remote sensing and GIS to landscape change, mostly in Canadian and North American contexts. There's a focus on social justice and power in urban and environmental processes. This leads to questions around class inequality and exploitation in various global settings, migration and citizenship as bases for exclusion, indigenous rights and resource politics, and geographical approaches to anti-racism, especially in urban contexts, and anti-racist movements. We're also critically examining the uneven geographies of global capitalism, the changing worlds of work and employment, feminist perspectives on geopolitics, and the global rise of right-wing populism. Our many urbanists are studying immigrant settlement, race and exclusion, urban labor processes, cultural production in cities, urban environmental politics, social planning, and feminist perspectives on urban life. And then in the field of political ecology, which studies how social power is entwined with environmental processes, this leads our researchers to contexts as diverse as indigenous communities and urban peripheries in Canada, to the forests of Costa Rica, which, don't worry, are not on fire, water resources in Chile, conservation and the lives of animals in Southern Africa, and labor processes in the deep sea fisheries of Southeast Asia. In EUC, there's also now a wealth of critical research on how we think about the natural world, the power of alternative and especially indigenous forms of environmental knowledge and environmental arts and humanities. And then lastly, we're now a geographical community with a much stronger focus on environmental management, including issues such as sustainable energy transitions, climate change mitigation, ecological economics, and the green economy. So what we have in EUC is a really exciting and internationally significant community of environmental, urban, and geographical researchers, all of it representing an expanded scope of geography as a discipline, and all of it guided by a normative mission to develop scholarship that moves us towards a more just and sustainable world, which is foundational to their faculty's vision. So geography as a department has gone, but geography as a field of research and learning at York is more alive than ever, I would suggest. And with that, I will pass over to my colleague, Steve Tufts, to talk a little bit about alumni relations. Over to you, Steve.
Thank you very much, Professor Kelly. I'm an associate professor in the new faculty of environmental urban change. Many of you may have seen me before. And I'm also a graduate of the program. I did my PhD in geography in 2003. So I'm actually an alumni. And I'm also, as trying to give back, I sit on the role on the executive of Geography's Alumni Association, which is called UGAN, which is an awful acronym, but it means the York University Geography Alumni Network. And it's been around for a number of years. It previously was called York Geography Alumni Association, but it was renamed. And there have been some questions of what happens to geography alumni now that we're in a new faculty. And my answer is things are going to really almost be the same. And in some ways, our alumni network has a chance to be enhanced and to grow and to expand and do more things. Now, geographers overall have over 5,000 alumni from York all over the world. One of our taglines of UGAN is that geographers are everywhere. And we find some of you actually, I can see in the participants list of this virtual town hall today. Further, many of you are going to be future alumni, especially the students who are with us today. And we hope that you'll be engaged in our network and realize that there are opportunities to be engaged with York University after you graduate. Now, UGAN has really a number of different rules, but there's some things that we really try to emphasize in what we do to support geography at York, and we hope we can continue to do so. First of all, is that we support students. I think that's really why we founded the network and some of the things that we can offer. And we do this in different ways. Sometimes we support the department and students through a number of awards. We're active in the award ceremony that geography has put on and will continue to participate on in future years. We also support a number of events for students, including career mentoring and network events, which have been successful in the past, where we've actually teamed up geography students with geography alumni to really understand how a career develops with a geography degree over time. And that's been very useful. Secondly, I think, sorry, that's just a phone. That's really important is that we support students through other types of subsidies, such as subsidies for different field courses. And there's a lot of ways that students don't even know they're being helped by the association. We also sponsor the Distinguished Speaker Series, which we're going to do as well in the future. And that's going to be important. And we hope that continues on in recent years. It's been difficult to have these events during the pandemic. But lastly, UGAN is a social activity for our alumni. We get to catch up with one another. We get to interact with one another, see how each other are doing. We learn from each other at different events and meetings that we hold over the years. So UGAN is going to continue, and we are really looking forward to being in the new faculty, because the new faculty is structured in a way that can give us that specific customized support because it has an alumni affairs officer, Jennifer Ferdinand, who is actually not only responsible for organizing this event today, but is also a geography graduate herself. Again, geography is everywhere. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Dean Hovorka, and we'll get the student involved as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephen. And thank you to all the speakers thus far, which have been largely our faculty complement. And it is time to bring in some student voices. This is a time of year where students are particularly busy, so thank you so much to those who sent in videos and are here to speak to you live. I'm going to first invite Rosanna to start rolling our videos, and 2 of them have been submitted. One from Angela Baldocera and a second from Tran.
Hi everyone, my name is Angelo Baldocera, and I am a York Geography and Concurrent Education student. This is actually my last year in the geography program, which is quite bittersweet because I really am going to miss it. I think York's geography program is amazing, and I love geography because there's such a wide range of things to study, and I love how York's courses have so much to offer. I've learned pretty much everything from political ecology to labor unions, and all from very knowledgeable and approachable professors. It's really hard to even narrow down my most memorable courses and the most memorable faculty members because there just really have been so many. But this year, I really liked Geography 2105 with Professor Philip Kelly and Geography 3800 with Professor Stephen Tufts. I feel like I'm walking away from the program with such a well-rounded understanding of geography as a whole, and I feel prepared to pass that knowledge on to future students of mine as I complete the teaching program. Thanks for a great year. I hope you all have a restful summer, and best of luck next year. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tran. I'm currently in my 3rd year at York, and my major is communication studies and geography is my minor. During my 1st year at York, I took Introduction to Geography as an elective, but I fell in love with the program since then, and that's why I decided that geography was also something that I was really interested in. And so I started taking more geography classes and enrolled in the program as my minor. I'm really passionate about the environment and the social issues surrounding our life, and I've definitely learned a great deal of knowledge through the geography program. It has opened up new ways of seeing and understanding the world for me that I wasn't aware of before. And my goal is to work for an organization that helps tackle social or environmental issues. And being in the program has offered me extensive knowledge that I can bring with me in my future career. In addition, one geography course that was very memorable to me was Geography 2105 taught by Professor Philip Kelly. Even though the course was online, he always made sure that we had the best learning experience possible, and he also offered us a lot of help and guidance along the way. And so I really want to thank him for that. Overall, I've really enjoyed my time being a student in the geography program, and I hope that more students will also learn about the great things that the program has to offer. Thank you.
So much to Angela and Tran for sharing their inspired remarks. Thank you so much. I'm going to turn it now live to 2 additional students, Jackie Duong and Michael Guzilia. Please join us. Thank you.
I'm a 3rd year BA geography student, and I have to say my experience within this program was exceptional, and I found it extremely welcoming, both by everyone, by the faculty, staff, and students. It was easy to connect and meet with students within our program spaces such as the GRC and the GIS lab, And hopefully before I graduate, I can return to these spaces and explore newer spaces within the HNES building, now in EUC. And I have to say the most memorable course I've taken in this program was a summer field course called Conservation in the GTA. We visited numerous sites and community organizations, learning about how conservation worked in an urban setting from an indigenous perspective, citizen science, urban agriculture, and zoos. So I'm extremely excited to see the increased experiential education and field course opportunities within this new faculty.
Thank you, Dr. Hovorka and Jackie. Hi, everyone. My name is Michael Galizia. I'm a third-year Bachelor of Arts student completing my undergraduate degree in geography at York U. The program is amazing and is very interactive. Not only does it have physical geography programs, but it also has human geography courses available too. I've had a very positive experience. All faculty staff have been helpful, understanding, and really want everyone to be successful. The program is helping me prepare in becoming an environmental lawyer. I learned about environmental impacts, world issues, and physical geography characteristics will help me achieve my goal from this program. A really good, memorable course, in my opinion, was Geography 2310. It was taught by Dr. Renu Basu and Dr. Jennifer Heinemann this term. It was very interactive in its blended setting, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, when it has been increasingly challenging interacting with other students. So just credit to Dr. Basu and Dr. Hyman. Thank you for the opportunity to speak at today's event.
Thank you so much, Michael and Jackie. This has brought us to the end of our formal presentation element of our town hall. So I'm going to invite everyone that has been speaking for this session to turn on their cameras and join me. And you can submit questions. There were questions submitted ahead of time. I'm also seeing a few coming through the chat and the Q&A button on the Zoom webinar. And again, I'm thrilled at the number of participants that are here. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to do my best to moderate with all these different questions coming in. And I'm going to actually start with one that came in from our colleague, Raju Das. Raju, I'm going to read yours verbatim. He writes, any thoughts on this, dear friends? What can we do to encourage a larger number of men and women to study geography and at the undergrad and graduate levels? With respect to undergrads, what can we do to connect to the schools and possibly vocational colleges? And what can we do to encourage people from underrepresented and equity groups to apply and to succeed? So that is quite a robust question. I'm going to ask the panelists to think through how they might want to contribute to answering this question. And I think what I might start out with, and for actually those that are on the panel, you can see Raju's question in the chat. But I'm going to start off with an answer here around what can we encourage, how can we encourage people to embrace geography? And I think part of me wishes that we could have even the entire York community join us at this town hall, for example, because I find that anytime I'm around geographers, I become really inspired by not only the breadth of what it is that we do, but the passion with which we pursue the various issues that are really important to us. I think what I have found in my time as a geographer at higher education institutions is that if you're not exposed to geography in high school, as I was fortunate enough to be, it's really the undergraduate first year courses that seem to draw in students. I like to see our first year courses as something of a service course that's not just for our majors that come in to be geographers first and foremost, but also those across the university that are interested in, for example, learning about the world today, which is Geography 1000. This is a course that's really wide ranging and and encourages students to think about the world in a global perspective, as well as all the different elements that we grapple with as a society, whether it's like ecological elements, physical, social, cultural, political, economic. It's that holistic thinking that I find draws people into geography, that you can be part of a community of practice, but sort of become yourself within that. It's an incredibly powerful discipline to that end. So I think encouraging students to take courses is, of course, one of the ways that we can reach out. I will turn it over to other colleagues for thoughts on Raju's question.
I'll start it off. I mean, this is a very good question. These are things that we have done in the past. We've sent our faculty members who, in many cases, are parents themselves, or have students in high schools, and have used that as an entry point to actually go visit classes and talk about what it means to study geography beyond the high school level, and how the grade 12 world issues course works in human geography, for example, and its relationship to a university curriculum. So these are things we have done. It's, again, we are in a very challenging period right now that I think a lot of disciplines face. We have to be honest about that. But we have to realize that some of the things that we need to do to counter isn't so much always a change to the way we teach or what we teach. It's a change in the way we can message what we teach and how we teach, and getting that message out, which is really difficult, even though we have all these new venues to do that. So we're going to continue, I think, in the new faculty, I think we can have access to recruitment to actually do this for us. And that's, I think, one of the exciting things about EUC is that we have that support in ways that we may have not had it in the past.
Thank you, Stephen. Others want to join in on this question? I think one of the pieces I can add here, because Raju does in his question ask us about equity deserving groups and trying to increase the diversity of students in our midst. I would say that at York, there is, over the last year, York has reaffirmed its commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusivity, and thinking very hard about the pathways that are either obstacles or true pathways into the university context. I think within our faculty, we're thinking about what is it that students need in order to access a university education. So we're thinking through entrance awards and student support along the way to ensure that everyone who is interested in education can access it and be supported through it. We're also looking at our curriculum and what is it that we're teaching, whose perspectives are we building into those courses that we offer, and how are we addressing some of the challenges that students face when they don't see themselves in a curriculum. So these are things that are part of our a number of frameworks that York University has established that our faculty is aligning with. So that includes the Black Inclusion Action Plan, as well as the Indigenous Framework. The Indigenous Framework came in 2017. The Black Inclusion Action Plan has been more recently adopted this year. And so this is definitely on our mind in terms of how to increase representation amongst our student body and making sure that the access is there. I will turn to a few other questions. If we've been talking about bringing students in, let's continue the theme of what kind of support is out there. So we have a question that's come in through the Q&A portal that reads, the new faculty includes a larger pool of undergraduate and graduate students in various programs that were outlined today. How is the faculty going to ensure students' needs are heard and met by faculty administrators, professors, and the overall university? I'll invite my colleagues to answer if they would like. I always have an answer for something, but I will let others come in first.
I can jump in there. I think one of the things that has happened, particularly for those of us that have moved from the geography department in a very, very large faculty to moving to offering programs in a much smaller faculty, York's smallest faculty, is that we have become much closer to the kinds of support that that can be offered to students through administrative staff, through advising, through faculty advising. And before, in LAPS, which is bigger than many Canadian universities, we were a long way from the kind of advising support, the kind of career support, experiential education support, and work integrated learning. We were a long way from those kinds of supports. They were spread thin across a very, very large faculty. I think one of the things that's happened is that we're now in a faculty where folks like Rosanna, who's here on the panel, and others are really close to our students because we're a much smaller unit, a much smaller entity. So I think those kinds of supports are going to be, and Ralph, who's here on the call as well, are going to be much, much closer to our students now because they are faculty level supports. We have the infrastructure of a faculty that is directed at the students in our programs in a way that wasn't quite as possible before. So I think the other thing that's really appealing to me is that we as faculty members will get to know our students much better. It was the case before that many of our courses were populated with students from many other programs across the campus, and hopefully that will still happen. But within a smaller unit, within EUC, we'll have the chance to bring our students in through customized recruitment processes and to see them all the way through their programs in a way that wasn't quite possible in the much larger context of LAPS. So I think this augurs very well for providing those kinds of supports to students, both when they apply, when they arrive, and as we see them through their programs, through experiential education, and we see them out into the world after they graduate.
I could add just a few words. I think there is a shared commitment among all the folks who came together to create this new faculty to the active and formal involvement of students in the decision-making bodies of the university, of the faculty. I believe there are student representatives, both undergrad and grad, I think on every single committee of faculty council. There are graduate student representatives on the geography program's grad exec committee, as well as grad council. And I think we've also really learned at the grad level, I can speak to, we've really learned from the very disruptive events of QP strikes, for example, how important it is to always have those lines of communication open, even outside of formal settings like committees. So I know that we're committed to that specifically in the grad program, but I think that's a shared commitment across all the graduate and undergraduate programs, and something that we've formalized so that it's, it can never happen that we forgot to ask the students, what they thought of this before we did something, but also so that we benefit from the insight of students and the ideas of students, who can often see something we should be doing or see a resolution to a problem that faculty might not think of.
Those are extremely important points, and I'll build on those to say that in addition to the governance piece and the academic support, I will add that there is academic support that comes again from students. We have an incredible peer mentor program within EUC that these peer mentors tend to be upper year students, third year, fourth year students, and they just offer an incredible outreach to all the students in our programs. And I'm actually going to be meeting with them next week to thank them for their service this year. They continue to be an incredible source of support for our students emotionally, and sort of as it is go through a program, but also in terms of academics. And this year, in terms of our structure, we have an undergraduate program director and each of the programs, each of our 5 undergraduate programs has a program coordinator. So that is something that we've established so that students have a number of point people to go to on academic matters, in addition to the supports coming from the staff side through our Office of Student Academic Support, OSAS. I will also say that the enormous student clubs, the enormously successful student clubs on campus, and especially connected with EUC, continue to bring a lot of spirit and engagement for our students. And it's been really impressive to see. And that's EUCSA, our Environmental and Urban Change Student Association for the undergraduate, as well as the various graduate clubs, and there are a number of them, geography clubs and environmental studies clubs. So I'll add that to the list. Does anyone else want to chime in on student support? Okay, so I'm going to go to some questions that have been sent in. I do have a few. Here's one. I'm wondering if Philip and or Tricia might want to comment on this. This is focused on graduate programs in our new faculty. And just as a reminder for everyone, we have geography programs. We have a PhD in geography, as well as the master's level, so an MA and an MSc. On the environmental studies side, we have a PhD in environmental studies, as well as the MES, Masters of Environmental Studies, which also has a planning realm. So this question is, how does one integrate or even manage the distinctive cultural differences between our graduate programs in the faculty? So I wonder if Philip and or Tricia might want to comment on that.
So the question is, how do we manage the different cultures of the different programs and the different degree programs, if I understand the question correctly? Well, it's actually pretty easy because we have 2 separate programs with 2 separate sets of decision making and other kinds of coordinating structures. One of the central purposes of the new faculty was to bring us into closer proximity to each other, but we do have distinct sets of practices. I would say, in fact, that the way we actually implement and roll out our programs in kind of logistical and structural ways are the bigger differences, rather than area of research interest between the 2 graduate programs. And so that sort of naturally keeps them separate. We have different rules and procedures. And none of that interferes with us, though, having really productive exchanges with each other around our research, and sharing opportunities to take courses from each other and things like that. But I think we need to, and I think this was actually in somebody else's question, I think we could be a little clearer about how it all works on our website, and we're working on that. But in practice, I think it's actually working very well, where we've got 2 communities that understand each other and operate efficiently, but are in constant conversation with each other in really productive and rewarding ways.
Yeah, I would just reiterate what Tricia has said there. They are still separate, so there is no need to integrate them. They exist as separate programs with separate governance structures. Obviously, as Tricia said, there's a great deal of thematic overlap between what students will do. And of course, there are many environmental studies faculty that are appointed to the geography program and vice versa. What is different at the master's level in particular is that they're very, very differently structured programs. There are different types of learning, different pedagogical philosophies, different emphasis on the research component of the programs. So when students are looking at which program to choose, there's a very clear distinction there in terms of whether the MES makes sense or the MA or MSc in geography makes sense. So we're not trying to integrate them. I would say we're barely even trying to manage them. I'm not anyway. I'm leaving that up to Tricia and Liette.
Thanks so much, Tricia and Philip. Our time has come to an end, and I see a couple of really key questions that I wanted to note. So I'm going to pull them into my final thoughts. So first of all, I did want to thank everyone for coming today. This is a community of practice, us as a community of geographers. And what I hope is that you are walking away from this town hall knowing that geography is foundational in our new Faculty of Environmental and Urban Change, and that it is at the heart of a lot of what we do. We're really excited about the 5 new undergraduate programs that we launched this past year, and a couple more to come this September. We're enormously proud of our graduate programs in geography and our research agendas, and it's really inspiring to see how many of us in the faculty embrace geography as a discipline and really advance geographical scholarship, as well as understanding of the grand issues that we are facing in the world today. Clearly, the news from Laurentian last week has shaken our community, with geography and a number of other environmental programs being closed. What I'll say is that at York University, there's enormous support for this faculty. There has been from the start, in the sense that there is a collective mass, a collective number of us that are really committed to making the world more just and more sustainable. And it's coming from the legacy departments of geography and the legacy FES. We know that this is a time when the world needs geography, and it needs people focused on environmental and urban change. The number of career paths that are going to, and the labor market that's going to need environmental knowledge, geographical knowledge and skills, and an understanding of the world that we live in, and ideas about how to change it for the better. This is a time when we need to be investing in these disciplines and in academic units like our own. Thank you so much for coming. To the alumni that are out there, it's really wonderful to see you here. And we look forward to reaching out and crossing paths with you again. To all of our existing current students, thank you so much for taking the time to be here, and best wishes on the end of semester. To our faculty and staff, I am enormously grateful for everything that you've been doing this year, especially amidst the challenging times we're all going through. Thank you to everyone who asked a question. Thank you, of course, to our students who joined us today, Jackie, Michael, Angela, and Tran. And to all of the behind the scenes staff, Rosanna, Jennifer, Lee. Your support is enormously important for these kinds of events. So with all that, we're only a minute over our town hall. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to working together for a more just and sustainable future. Thank you so much, everyone.